So we're going to have a discussion and a translation here in this video of Aeneid, Book 7, lines 783 to 792, and if it's a rather short one, we might actually go ahead and take care of in the same video, Book 7, 803 to 817. So let's go ahead and get started. So now we are going to learn about the guy who's mentioned last of a potential marriage partner for Lavinia, the daughter of Latinus and Amata, and that would be Turnus, as it were. And so we find out about him. So, Turnus himself, obviously, agreeing in case, number, and gender, amongst the first, and so he's a top guy, with outstanding body, he is turned. But this is more so a mediopassive, which has a reflexive quality. He turns himself, as in, he puts himself on display, and so you can see how fantastic he is as a physical specimen. He tenanes, present active participle, modifying Turnus, holding his weapons, and by a whole vertique head crown, he is above. And so in other words, he is a head taller than everybody else. A quality, obviously, that would make him, as I said, a most desirable physical specimen and match for Lavinia. So doing that again, holding his weapons, he turns himself, he is turned, and by, because it's ablative, a whole head, he is above, implied the others, who were themselves amongst the first. Turnus, QE, here we have a dative of possession, for whom a crenita galea alta, a tall crested helmet with triple crest. Triplici is your ablative of, well, it's an adjective modifying that ablative of description, as it were. And so this is the word meaning crested, or having been crested, and then this is the noun itself, a crest, as it were. For whom the tall helmet, crested with a triple crest, sustains the chimera. And by sustains we means it features it, as it were. It resembles it, as it were. And that's that crest on his helmet. It's like fire being obviously blown out of his head. And the chimera here is simultaneously being symbolic of both the chimera monster, that three-parted monster that is 1/3 serpent dragon, 1/3 goat, 1/3 lion. And at the same time, Mount Etna itself is often referred to as a chimera because, like the chimera monster that breathes fire, Etna breathes fire as well because it is a volcano. And so the chimera, does that helmet sustain? Does that helmet carry? The chimera, efflantem, blowing out Etnan fires, fires related to Mount Etna, from its jaws. Tam magis, quam magis. Remember, whenever you see a tantus, look for a quantus and vice versa. You see a quote or tote, look for the tote or the quote, vice versa, and we're doing the same thing here, in which it's being used correlatively with that tam and quam. How the much more, that one, referring to the chimera, representative of Turnus himself, bellowing, roaring, and wild with sad flames, by the same amount more, the fights grow violent. And remember, this crudescunt is an inceptive action. You can tell because of the SC that implies the beginning of an action and a non-continuance of it, as it were. And so the fights grow violent with blood having been poured out. And so therefore he is a rather terrifying figure and a rather imposing one in that he is physically intimidating, and he has the qualities, both simultaneously, of the chimera monster and the chimera volcano, that being Mount Etna. But, or and. And so now we're going to move on to another part of him. We've already dealt with his helmet. Now we're going to find out about his shield. But, Io insignabant. And what Io insignabant means, it means like displays or shows or appears as in insignia, as it were. And so we will go with like, I guess, appears on, but Io appears on signifies the light shield with her horns having been lifted out. And so remember, Io was one of Jupiter's victims, as it were. Lover is, I think, much too euphemistic of a term. And in order to spare her from Juno's wrath, remember that Jupiter is going to turn her into a cow. And so, as Io appears on the shield, she is going to be representative in many ways of Juno's wrath. Juno's wrath as it is going to be channeled through Turnus, as it were. And that, of course, already we know that Juno doesn't much care for Aeneas, and so now Turnus is going to become, in many ways, the avenger of Juno. And we can see that that representation of wrath is going to be also displayed with the story of Io. Nevertheless, but Io appears on and signifies the light shield with her horns having been lifted out, and appears on that light shield with gold. And so we're talking about etching and or decorations within that gold, as it were. Already obsita, already having been sown, having been planted with bristly hair. And so this is appearing Io on that shield, already having made that transformation into that of a cow, because a cow is covered with that bristly fur. And so Io, no longer a hairless, beautiful, dainty woman, but now the hairy cow. Already a bovine, a cow, a huge representation, argumentum, as it were. And the guardian, the guard of the virgin Argus. Remember in this part of the story, so that to prevent Jupiter from turning Io back into human form to carry on his relationship, again another euphemistic term, with Io, Juno had set upon Io in the form of the cow, the guard Argus, who, as we know, had 100 eyes, 99 of which stay open at all times. But unfortunately for Argus, and from Juno's perspective, it was Mercury sent by Jupiter to obviously dispatch and or kill Argus, whereupon those eyes were put on Juno's bird, the peacock. And so that's why peacock feathers have all of those eyes. So not only do we have Io appearing on that light shield, but already in the form of a cow, having been planted with those bristly hairs, a huge representation, and on that shield, the guardian, the guard of the virgin Argus, and that virgin was referring to, obviously, Io. And a third element, Dad Inachus, and so Io's dad is named Inachus. He, a river god, so representative of a river, but personified as such, pouring out, fundanes, present active participle, his river from a having been embossed urn. And so therefore the idea that the river is representative of being not only personified, but on this shield, presumably anthropomorphic in the shape of a human, and pouring out that river from like a bucket or an urn, indicating the source of the river, that he is representative thereof. And so therefore a most impressive and intimidating person that we inevitably know Aeneas is going to have to fight, and eventually at the end of the Aeneid defeat, is this Turnus. So again, keep studying and best of luck.